Yesterday, I discovered the coolest update to a game ever, period. The Spruce Goose in Microsoft Flight Simulator. I think this is really old, like it came out last year, but I haven't booted up this thing in so long, but man am I glad that I did. The H4 Hercules has kind of become a pop culture icon in the decades since it flew one time. And especially for a Weenie Hut Jr. turbo nerd like me, as a kid I definitely gravitated toward books about this little plane. Except it's not little at all, it's absolutely huge. I think it is shorter than the 747, but the wingspan may be wider. I don't really know, you'll have to fact check me on that, but point is, it's big. So big, this plane hardly wants to get off the ground, which is why it's crucial to start every flight with this plane from airborne, which the game automatically sets to 7,000 feet for some reason. And that's because once this thing goes down, it's really not going to get back up. Despite the underwhelming performance of this contraption, I decided to take her on a flight. I originally wasn't even going to make a video, but it quickly became apparent I needed to capture some of this. So, to start off, I took it for a flight around my hometown of Atlanta, Georgia. And randomly, I had the brilliant idea of landing the Spruce Goose on a lake. So I chose Lake Allatoona, one of the largest and most famous lakes in Georgia. And suffice to say, I don't think Lil Goosey is supposed to land on a lake, but it did. Surprisingly, the Spruce Goose lands fairly easily, even on a body of water only about 3 times as large as it. You just have to make sure you keep a little bit of throttle in it to keep yourself from stalling out because it's so heavy. It'll pretty much follow the sky whether you give it power or not. As a friend of mine pointed out, in real life, this thing really didn't want to fly in the first place, so it's quite fitting that it's easy to land. Taking off, however, was a much more difficult task. On my first try, which I did not film because I didn't know this would become a video, the plane could not turn in time within the confines of the lake to get a good run for takeoff, which I needed because I knew I'd need a longer stretch of water than what was left from what I landed on. But on my second try, where I landed on a larger portion of Allatoona, it was able to take off. And I realized that the next step was to do a barrel roll! Okay, tell my family I love them. And yes, Auntie, you did catch me jacking off in the bathroom when I was in 6th grade, when I told you I was just changing, but you did see what you thought you saw. Oh! And it made it! Now that is a sight. It took nearly all of 7,000 feet to roll over, but the old girl did it. Before I did it, I did cut like a couple dozen thousand pounds with the crew and fuel and the settings to lessen the weight to help me out. But I think this still counts because it barely did it. And I don't think you're going to do it fully loaded. Unfortunately, once you get there, you're kind of stuck like that forever because you can't gain altitude to roll back over. And it doesn't last very long before it nosedives into the ground anyways. So obviously, the next logical step is to see if it can do a loop-de-loop. A move that I thought would have a more technical term, but is actually just called a loop. And that went about as well as you think it would. But then I decided, let's try the loop backwards. Oh yeah! And apparently it's a little trick to get the goose to become upside down faster than a barrel roll. And now I even have altitude to maybe complete the loop. Nope. And another stall. Well, about as expected. It was a little bit hopeful there in the middle. It was getting a little bit hopeful, but yeah, about as expected. This isn't exactly a arena air racer. Okay, so the next logical step beyond that would be to obviously, okay, now, duh, try and fly between the skyscrapers of a major metropolitan area. And so we're going to choose the nearest one to me, and that's Atlanta. Sorry, it's not an iconic city like New York or LA, but I don't think the low volume of skyscrapers in ATL will matter with how this thing handles. Plus, we're not doing this in New York for obvious reason. Alright, so we make the approach. And I didn't know what building I was going to take here, but I did see a gap. And it was time to test out the turning capabilities. And it made it! But then to make that turn, I had to get completely out of line with the other buildings. When I got righted though, we now make a turn around the pencil building. And we're in a tricky spot here because we're losing altitude, which you can't really get back at all. So now I see a set of buildings I want to fly around to the northwest. Oh, you can even see Buckhead on the horizon. And let me just say real quick, it's pretty cliche because everyone says it, but man did they do a good job on this simulator. And we're going to cut here because after this I proceeded to faceplant onto I-85. But I made another go at those buildings after that on a second run. I got dangerously low, but that's the way I like it. I see the gap, so I gotta go for it. And let me just say, what you saw there is the most annoying thing. When you push hard down on the stick, it brings up the cursor, which takes away control of the plane. So in the most crucial moments when you're mashing hard to turn the plane, which in GTA you'd honk the car horn, you lose control of the airplane. Great design, Microsoft. A round of applause, a round of applause. And I just miss it by a hair. Or maybe the wing just phased through it. I can't tell, but shh, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And I managed to pull out too. Next, to ramp up the intensity, we're going to fly under a national landmark, the Golden Gate Bridge. Now, I believe the Spruce Goose flew out of Los Angeles, but this is California, so close enough. And honestly, this was actually the easiest thing I did all day. I mean, it was over water, so you can't actually crash, and all you gotta do is just stay level. You really just have to worry about boats and making sure that that huge tail doesn't hit the bridge. Alright, so that was fun. A nice little relaxing tour of a piece of American history. Oh my gosh! Help me! Help me, Jesus! Help me, Allah! Help me, Jewish God! Ah! Oh. Phew. Alright. Next, it's time to go to the ultimate challenge. The Grand Canyon Run. Rip off your shirt and get the volleyballs out because we're turning it up to not only 11, but 12. So far, so good. All gauges in the green.
Guys, we're falling behind. We really gotta move. If we don't increase our speed right now, those bandits are gonna be waiting for us when we reach the target.
Come on, kid, you can do it. Don't think. Just do it.
Maverick, I don't think that's gonna help me out here. Well, unfortunately, it can't run the exact path of the river. There's no way it's going to make all those turns. And once you've made a turn, it's very hard to get going back the other way. But we're good. We're good. We're good. And a really tight turn out of here. Unfortunately, this was it for the run because as the plane dipped, it just lost all lift through there. I tried to save it with rudder, but there was nothing I could do. But wait! Remember, it lands on water! Oh! Uh-oh! Uh-oh! Someone please! Why? This jumbo haven't landing here! Oh. Well, I guess in real life, maybe it would have survived. I'm not sure. It probably would have broken up when it hit the water. But if it got to the water, theoretically, it would have just drifted onto the sand and probably got beached. Or disintegrated on the rocks. I don't know. But perhaps, that might have been survivable, potentially. So besides, like, flying on the moon, I don't know how to up the ante on the Spruce Goose Shenanigans. And you can't fly on the moon in this, unfortunately. It's not a one-to-one of Google Earth, which is a massive con of Microsoft Flight Simulator. 1 star, you can't fly on the moon. Horrible thing. It's horrible. Never gonna boot it up again. I tried to see if I could fly to the top of Mount Everest, and then I looked up on Google that it's 20,000 feet tall, so there was no way that was ever gonna happen. And I also tried to fly it into a hurricane, but I couldn't find one. So if you have any suggestions for Spruce Goose crap, let me know. I'd love to try some fun stuff out. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm thinking of uploading some new NASCAR content, maybe one on Tyler Reddick if he wins at Indy, because I've finally diverged from NASCAR stuff, but I kind of want to go back a little bit, because it's really not calling. I mean, I bleed blue, red, and yellow. But I don't know, we'll have to see. Maybe I'll finally get to that Manatee video. Anyways, thanks for watching. This has been the Hot Dog for the Hoffle, and what? Hold up. There are a couple more minutes on this video. What am I doing? We are gonna do the canyon run properly in an F-18. Okay, here we go. There it goes again, doing that thing. Oh my God. But we're okay. No, we're not. Well, let's try that again, shall we? Ah! Not again! no way I was gonna make that turn there. The F-18 can roll fast, but it really doesn't change pitch much faster than the Spruce Goose, or at least it feels that way.
Oh, not again! I almost had it too. Hey, we're okay! Oh no! Once again, we're okay! Hey! We're okay again! Oh, never mind.
Having completed the 0 to 100 and back to 0 test, we got back on the road.
Alright, that's it.